Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thank you for joining us. We are brought to you by Russell & Associates, and we're coming to you from the Latch Development Center at 111 Riverfront Street in downtown Winona. And we're here to talk Warrior football. Head coach Brian Bergstrom. And Coach, amazing win against Southwest Minnesota State. They scored first. You scored 43 unanswered points to win the game. How do you feel your team did this weekend?
Proud of them. We obviously didn't play our best 2 weeks ago at Northern, and we responded. And our guys were focused during the week and motivated to respond and grow. And that was the challenge all week. And it could have gone a couple different directions at the beginning of the Southwest game, because they scored first, and human nature says, "Oh, here we go again." And but they stopped. They stopped it immediately and went the other way. Offense, defense, and special teams was all a part of those 43 points.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the sledge at the end of the show when we come back after talking to our guests. But I want to find out, because the first quarter didn't go very well, but everything kind of kicked into high gear. As you said, all phases of the game, starting in the second quarter, really picked up. What was the difference between those two quarters?
I think it was really just sticking to the plan. We just executed better. We didn't really change anything in the second quarter, and what we saw again was one phase making a play, which gave confidence to another phase, and special teams really showed up for us again and changed the game and scored a bunch of points on special teams, and that just breathes life. And when you do that, and then you're able to control the ball, I think we were able to really stop the run after the first drive and run the ball very well, and you can control the game and kind of wear people down. And we knew they were going to be tough. They're new and improved, and they got a good thing going there. But we got the best of them on Saturday.
Yeah, I think they average almost 250 yards rushing a game, and you held them to below 100, I believe. So what was the key in that for the defense?
The key was that we watched them all week, and we talked about how good they were running the football, and they are. And we practiced it all week, and all the little details of how we got to stop the run and still stay on top of the deep passing game, which hurt us at Northern. So really proud of how the guys took a challenge and responded. I think it was 60-some yards rushing, and a number of occasions where not only did we stop the run, but we had multiple people there on deep balls besides the one touchdown competing for it. So it wasn't like we were giving up one thing to stop another, and that's team defense.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about how you guys scored then. I think it started out with Darrell Williams catching a 44-yard pass. So the passing game started out, and then it was special teams after that. Tell us a little bit about how that went.
Yeah, I think we had established the run a little bit within the drive, which sucked up the linebackers and the safeties. So you ended up with Darrell in a one-on-one with the corner, and did a great job of just going and getting it, because it could have got knocked down. It could have, it was a battle at that point, and he really willed himself to catch the football, and then kept going yards after the catch. And then, like you mentioned, that led into some special team success, scoring more points, and then you start to pick up momentum again. And we've seen just the power of momentum in most of our wins, and the loss at Northern, we were on the wrong side of momentum. So it's such a powerful, really hard to describe, but when you're feeling it,
Arian Lacey had a long punt return. So you have him and you have Darrell Williams back there for punts and kicks. You really can't kick away from either one of them because they're both dangerous.
Yeah, they're both very gifted. And Darrell has had more opportunities probably so far this year, but AJ took the most of his opportunities, and it's a good problem to have, two good punt returners and a great punt block team that blocks well for both of them, and that team just in general. I mean, with the safety and the block for a touchdown, and then AJ's return, big time day for punt block team.
And then you took advantage of a mistake by Southwest where they snapped the ball over the punter's head, and then recovered that one as well. So, as you said, big day is maybe even an understatement for the way that they played this week.
Yeah, it's That team in particular has been a part of a lot of scoring plays for us this season, whether it's been blocks or returns or safeties, and it's again the power of special teams. You can't overlook it. You gotta focus on it, and it is a third of the football game.
You said that you established the running game early, which you did, and you had 3 running backs really that had significant yardage. They didn't have big games, but combined they did. So tell us a little bit about that, being able to have 3 backs really that can run the football.
Yeah, it's a blessing, because boy, do you take a beating when you play running back, right? Everybody's targeting you, and you just get hit more as a running back than a receiver because you have the ball more. And to be able to spread those hits out, and they have differing styles with, Ty Gavin being a little different than Santiago Lloyd in terms of their style, and then Nick McCabe, a bigger back, and Dom London got back in the game after being injured and sick early in the year. So a bunch of guys that we can rotate through, and we're going to need to keep doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us a little bit more about the defense and how they played this week, because we did talk about that earlier, but shutting Southwest down after giving up that first touchdown, but then just completely taking everything away from Southwest was pretty big. Tell us about the defense.
Yeah, proud of how they responded and really shut the run down. Was really good on third down. One of our best games of getting off the field on third down, which helped us limit points. If you can hold anybody to 7 points, we should win the football game, because our offense is going to score, our special teams is going to put us in position. But they played confident and they played fast. They managed their emotions. They didn't get too low after that first drive, where it could have been very easy to get down or get upset. But we just stayed the course, and we really challenged them. On average, we've been facing 14 drives on defense this year. So 14 times we would get to go out there on defense. And we would count them every time they came off. That was 1, we got 13 left. That was 2, we got 12 left. So we failed on the first one, but then I think we had 13 drives that game. The next 12 consecutive drives were a success with no points. So it's just another way of breaking the game down into smaller segments to be able to go 1-0 in that small segment.
And then go back to quarterbacks, Trevor Paulson and Kyle Haas. Again, neither one really stood out, but they both had very good games. And I don't mean that to be a negative, because it kind of sounds that way, because you're not saying, you got a star here, you got a star there. But they bought into this team concept, not only the quarterbacks, but the running backs and the wide receivers and the defense. The balance that you have is really good. Tell us a little bit about how you see that.
Well, I think you hit it right on the head with the buying into the team and the culture that it is the ultimate team sport. And I got to be my best in whatever I'm called to do that day. And I don't need to necessarily be satisfied with my role if I'm a scout player, let's say, or if I'm a backup, but I do need to embrace it and be my best in that role that day, and then fight for a bigger role the next day. And whether it's quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, the defense, just special teams, just do your job, and the team will have the most success. And if you want to play an individual sport, there's lots of individual sports you can play, right? You're playing the ultimate team game. And that is my number one concern as the head football coach is the culture of this football team. And buying into team first is number one priority.
Now, we'll talk about Sioux Falls a little bit later, as well as the upcoming game. But do you think this seemed to be as good a tune-up as you could have. I know you don't want to look too far down the road, and it's one game at a time. But knowing that Sioux Falls was down the road, this was a pretty good tune-up for your team to get ready for the next week. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think anytime, everybody's good in our league, so anybody can beat anybody. So anytime you get a win, you celebrate it. And they come in all different shapes and sizes. And we, after the game, reminded ourselves of who our next opponent is. And you look back and say, there's a ton of good things we can build on from this game going into the Sioux Falls game, and they're obviously a very talented and good team, and one we'll have our hands full this week, and excited that we're at home. But yes, certainly built momentum back up going into this big game this week.
All right, sounds good. We're going to take a break here on the Warrior Report, and when we come back, we'll talk strength and conditioning when we return right after this.
Meet Jenny Siseski of Edina Realty. With nearly 30 years' experience, she knows that right now is the best time to sell your home. Jenny will help you get top dollar, higher than ever before. With today's low interest rates, it's time to upgrade your home and increase its value. High demand and low inventory also make this a perfect time to list your home. Call for a free market analysis. Contact Jenny Siseski at Edina Realty today, 507-458-7038.
And welcome back to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. We are brought to you by Russell & Associates, and we're coming to you from the 111 Riverfront Building, the Latch Development Center in downtown Winona. Now we're going to talk to a couple of members of the Warrior coaching staff, Eddie Hodges and Aaron Peckham. Thank you for joining us today. Let's talk a little bit first about strength and conditioning. Eddie, you're involved with Three Rivers Performance, as are you. But tell us a little bit about how that kind of mixes in with coaching football. I think the coaching football started first, and then you got involved in Three Rivers. Is that
right? So I'm the owner and director of Three Rivers Performance. So my background went back to when my dad started strength conditioning out of our gym. So for me, it all coincides together with football. Better athlete, when you're in the weight room, running faster, jumping higher, and all that stuff is going to correlate off to football, volleyball, anything that you do in a sport. So.
All right, and how did you get involved?
I started working with Eddie about a year ago. I was originally at a high school in the La Crosse area, coaching, teaching. Realized I didn't want to be in the education side of things anymore, but I loved coaching. He gave me an opportunity to become a strength coach for the community. And then through that, I developed relationships and connections with Winona State staff, and then eventually moved into coaching running backs with Winona State.
Okay, so how different is like a personal trainer compared to what you guys do?
Yeah, so a personal trainer does more one-on-one sessions. They're more in the general fitness side of things, getting people back, losing weight, making them stronger in that aspect of things. But here we're trying to optimize human performance, so we're trying to optimize the athlete, trying to be stronger and faster for their sport. So we got to take a deep dive into seeing what their sport demands are, what their needs are, what their injury rates are, all that stuff. So that can take into consideration. That's how we build out a strength conditioning program. So.
Okay, and how have you kind of fit in with Three Rivers, and what do you do?
Yeah, so I started off just being there, hands-on mostly, working with a lot of our athletes, going to different schools that we've worked with. We've worked all the way down to Prairie du Chien to the La Crosse area. So I was being kind of that main point in the Prairie du Chien area. And then within our facility in downtown La Crosse, I was working with anyone and everyone that came in the facility. And like you said, the demand of the sport is very particular per athlete, so just making sure I'm up to date on what they're doing. A lot of our athletes were 3-sport athletes, so as seasons change, their program changes, and then as the stress levels increase throughout the season, making sure they're doing adequate recovery, and making sure that they're just doing everything for them, so that they're optimal shape for what their sport demands.
Okay. So, Eddie, you have trained pro athletes here at the San Francisco 49ers for a while. You've trained college athletes. What is the difference in getting a college athlete or a pro athlete ready for the season or for a game?
So the big difference is, especially when you start with a college athlete, a lot of those kids are coming out of high school and have never touched a weight before. So just educating them on how, what the etiquette is in the weight room, how to lift weights the right way, how to do all that stuff. Now if you have a professional athlete, now we're just trying to optimize what they have. So finding the little weaknesses and tweaking them just a little bit because an athlete that's going to come in, especially a pro athlete, and then you're going to change up their whole running form, you're probably not going to do that. So you're going to find what they're deficient in slightly, and you're just going to optimize that, try to fix that just a little bit, and then hopefully they can last longer in the season and then longer in their career too, because especially the demands in the weight room in the college sector is a little bit more than the pro sector. So the pro sector, you're trying to extend their career as long as you possibly can. You only get 4 years with the college athletes, so you're trying to make them as strong and as fast as you can. So the training style is a little bit differently, the intensities are a little bit differently, the different exercises are pretty different as well too. So
Okay, now you had a history with Winona State prior to joining the staff this year.
Yep.
So what brought you back here?
Well, so it brought me back to this area. So my girlfriend is the main reason, because she was going into law enforcement, and then obviously I have family here, she has family here, so came back to this area too. And then, to be quite frank, I was just sick of traveling a lot. So, traveling all over the country and stuff, which was cool. And that was nice to do that, but at the end of the day, you got to settle down and have a family. So, and plus this area is awesome. It's safe, it's nice, it's beautiful. Couldn't look for anywhere else to live.
All right, and how did you get involved here at Winona State?
So I went to school at UW La Crosse, and then, like I said, I started teaching in the area, and then I got involved with Eddie. So through his connections, and they were in need of a running backs coach, and one of the coaches reached out to Eddie about if he knew anyone, and he mentioned my name, had a few discussions with that coach, and if it was something I was interested in. Quite frankly, it wasn't anything I had thought of, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity, and I've just been learning and expanding my knowledge in the realm of college coaching, and it's been a great experience so far. So we'll see how that goes, but that's kind of how I got connected. And then with Eddie, we're just growing the sports performance side of the Winona State football team and just kind of seeing how that goes.
So mainly your work was with running backs at Winona State,
Correct.
but you also kind of have the strength part as well?
Yep, I'll assist in the strength stuff where it's needed, and then primarily just with the running backs as of right now. Yeah.
Okay. Now, as we were talking to a coach before, especially this last game against Southwest Minnesota State, you had 3 running backs that were doing really well. Not one stood out, but they all kind of meshed together. And plus, you throw Dominic London in there as well as a 4th running back. Tell me a little bit about what it's like to coach those types of athletes.
Yeah, so those guys, they're all capable of doing the job. So it's very tough for me to find times to see where they fit in, which, I mean, it's a kind of a blessing, right? Like, good things or good problem to have. So they each do things a little bit differently. They see the field differently, and they just bring a different dynamic to the game. So finding ways to fit them in is tough on me, but I mean, it's incredible being able to put any one of those guys in and trust that they're going to do the job. And you kind of saw it this last Saturday of, doesn't matter who's in the game, they're going to execute the game plan. And we're, Sam Santiago Lloyd going to the goal line and running certain plays that are fit for him, and he got it done. And I mean, Nick McCabe making a breakaway touchdown for 63 yards. Like, you can't ask those guys for more than what they're doing, and you applaud them for taking that role, any amount of plays that they get, and just running with it.
All right. So for game day, what do you do on game day?
So my game day is pretty extensive. So sometimes, especially before the game starts, hours before, we're in the weight room, rolling guys out, stretching them. If we're on the road, stretching them, using some Normatec stuff, using some Hyper Ice. Big thing that we do is a lot of recovery stuff too. So I hammer the guys, try to get them ready, get them stretched out, do all that stuff. And then during the game day, do the game day walk down there, and then obviously warm them up on the field, making sure walking around, making sure the guys are in the right headspace, all that stuff, making sure their bodies feel good. And then throughout the game, kind of helping the special teams get everybody organized and ready for that, in the box, and just making sure that things are flowing, guys are stretched out, and guys are feeling good.
All right, so question for both of you. So we tape on a Monday here. Yeah. So you just had a game on Saturday. I think Sunday is kind of the day off for everybody. So what do you do starting now, getting everybody ready for a game day the next Saturday?
Okay. So Monday morning, we're right in the weight room right away. We have 2 groups in the morning. So basically that preparation is now, the last game's over with. Now it's Sioux Falls now. So we got to focus on this game coming up. So based off, I build it out for the full season. So we're depending upon where we fall in that program, and that's going to what dictate us, throughout the week. And then it's Monday, Wednesday is the main lift for the travel guys, and obviously the freshmen and non-travel guys too.
Mm-hmm.
But then Fridays is a fun day with me with freshmen and the non-travel guys, just getting them stronger and getting the etiquette in the weight room dialed in.
Okay, and the balance for you doing running
Yeah,
backs and passing
so
strength?
my coaching starts right away on Sunday, breaking down the game film, and then starting the game planning, working with all the other offensive staff. And then Monday morning, I usually divvy up my day early mornings. While he's in the weight room, I'll do stuff on the computer where I'm working with clients, connecting with clients, and just outreach stuff. And then as soon as my day's done late morning, I'll dive right back into coaching stuff, continue to game plan, figure out what I need to do to get our guys ready for Saturday. So and just kind of continue that process throughout the week, find time for Three Rivers as well as coaching.
All right, so if any athletes have heard this and want to get involved in the programs that you guys do, how do they get a hold of you and Lacrosse?
Yeah, so you can look us up on Instagram. It's at Three Rivers Performance, or go to our website, threeriversperform.com, and you just can fill out some questionnaire on there, and then we'll get right back to you.
All right, fascinating stuff. Thank you guys for joining us
Yeah,
here
thank
today,
you.
and good luck this week against Sioux Falls.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Warrior Report. When we come back, we'll talk about the Sioux Falls game. It's homecoming week at Winona State. We'll have more right after this.
Food, shelter, fast internet. It's all we really need. Good thing HBC has the fast, reliable internet it takes to power all the Wi-Fi hungry gadgets in your home, all at once. With speeds like these, get smooth HD streaming video, gaming, music, and surfing, all with no waiting, no buffering, no kidding. You want it. You need it. Get it. Call or click hbci.com and upgrade your internet today.
We've been warning you about Max Profit for quite a while now, but did you know that Max also works in most service departments? Do you feel uneasy when you take your car in to be serviced? Have you ever wondered why your simple oil change always includes something extra? Are you sure Max is being transparent with you? Feel confident again at Lewiston Auto. Our experienced, trained service team will give you the straight truth about your car. Lewiston Auto Chevrolet and Buick. Everything you want and nothing more.
And welcome back to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Russell & Associates and coming to you from the Latch Development Center at 111 Riverfront Street in downtown Winona. Coach Bergstrom joins us again, and we just talked a little strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
How important is that part to you and to the team?
Oh, it's huge. From not only a performance standpoint, but a team culture. They're in the weight room and running together so much in the off season that so much of their time is with the strength staff. So whether it's team culture or work ethic or team bonding, injury prevention, all of those things, in addition to getting stronger and faster to help them be better football players. And it's critical to us in all phases, and they do a great job. Coach Hodges and Coach Peckham and their staff, whether it's in season, out of season, in the weight room, out on the field, great people first and experts in their field.
Now, in your history in coaching and your knowledge of that, how important is it to have somebody like Coach Hodges, who's been in the NFL, has coached college athletes before, runs his own business?
Right.
How important is it to kind of have that experience?
Well, it's huge for my trust. I'm able to turn it over to him and not feel like I need to stick my nose in it a lot. Obviously, the big picture, from a big picture perspective, my presence is felt. But we hired him on our staff to do a job just like every other coach. I want them to feel free in coaching, and not that I'm there to support, I'm there to help, and to challenge them as coaches, but not micromanage them. So it's huge to be able to, for me to be freed up and know that our guys are being taken care of and treated the right way.
All right. This past week was the battle for the sledge against Southwest Minnesota State, and I know that when we were at the stadium on Thursday getting ready for our high school game, we saw that you had the sledge there at practice. How important is that, and what was it like to win the sledge again this year?
I mean, it was great. I mean, I love traveling trophies. Not that it necessarily makes the game bigger, or it's just an added piece at the end. And we just use it each day to say that it's been in our locker room for a long time and it needs to stay. And we bring it out to practice. And but when it comes down to it, they're out on the field trying to win the football game for their team, not necessarily for the sledge, but for the guys, the beating hearts in the locker room. They're trying to win it for them. But it's certainly a little added perk and fun.
All right, and one thing that I forgot to ask when we were doing the first segment, they usually do an MVP for the sledge, but I didn't see who won that for Winona State this year.
So AJ Lacey won it, and they get like a miniature sledge, but it's still very big. Not quite as big as the other for his game on defense, but then certainly special teams as well. Had a big day. So.
Okay, so it's Sioux Falls this week. Not to add any more pressure to facing an undefeated team, but it's also homecoming week. So I mean, how do you deal with homecoming? What does it mean to you and the players? And are there any added distractions in that for homecoming?
Well, I think first and foremost, we got a football game on Saturday, and that's what we got to focus on. Is the reason that there is a homecoming week, it's centered around the game. And our guys and our coaches need to have tunnel vision on the task at hand and treat it like it's an away game in terms of the game itself. Now, I'm not saying that they're not going to feel some of those distractions, because there's a lot of good things going on campus. And for good reason, because Winona State is an amazing place and people get to come back home and see it. But we need to be great in our focus in cutting out the static of the outside world and focusing on our school, our preparation, and the game. And then after the game, then you can enjoy being around alumni that are back and family that are around. And that's the challenge of homecoming. But it reminds you too of the legacy that has been laid by the people before us, and our challenge to set the standard for the people to follow. And that's what homecoming reminds me of, that and family. So,
do you feel any added pressure for this game? Because there's conference implications that come into this one, and as you said, alumni are coming back. They get a first look maybe at what you have done with the program. Is there any added pressure for that?
No, I don't really feel any more pressure. The pressure I put on myself is greater than any pressure that anybody else could put on me. So I don't notice anymore. My priority is to our staff and to our guys, and certainly the alumni and everyone in the family. But I know that if I focus on what I can control and do my best as the head coach, that we're going to play our best. And I don't feel added pressure because it's a home game or a homecoming game. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a great environment, and I'm thankful for everybody coming back. And we're going to need them and get it loud in there.
All right, about 30 seconds left. Last question. Health-wise, how's the team heading into this week?
We had a few guys dinged last game, but they should be back either this week or next week. So, knock on wood, we're going through a football season, obviously. So there's injuries that are going to happen, but nothing too dramatic last game.
All right, very good. Thank you for the time and for everything, and good luck against Sioux Falls this week.
Appreciate it.
All right, and thank you for joining us. 2 o'clock game on Saturday if you want to join in here on HBC TV 25. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time here on HBC.